Heavy and slow footsteps were heard from the second floor. Dima took a flashlight and went to check the second floor to reassure his friends. He carefully went up the creaky stairs until he came to the corridor. There he saw an open door, from which came strange sounds. It was a barely audible whiz. I heard this creepy story as a child. When I lived in the summer in my grandmother's village, the neighboring village was far away through the forest, and one of the houses stood lonely right in that forest. Some of the locals said it was cursed. The village at the edge of the forest had long forgotten exactly when the house had been abandoned, but legends about it had been passed down. From generation to generation, the house was believed to be haunted by the spirits of its past inhabitants, a family that had disappeared one night without a trace. Allegedly, they were trapped between worlds because of some unsolved terrible crime. One day, a boy from that village told his classmates a scary story about the house. But one group of teenagers, laughing at the creepy tales, decided to come to his village to sneak into the house and sleep in it for fun. The boy agreed to show them the house, but said he would not go there with them. So on the weekend, having told their parents that they were going to spend the night with a classmate, the boys arrived in that village. They armed themselves with flashlights, kitties and sleeping bags, naively believing that they were preparing for a normal camping trip. The house really was old and creepy. When they entered, the door creaked oddly and closed behind them. But they ignored it, setting up camp in the large living room where the hearth had once blazed. Long ago, they joked and laughed and told scary stories. As darkness fell, however, things got really scary. The teenagers suddenly noticed that their flashlights were flickering, as if the electricity in the air was distorted by some invisible force. Then heavy and slow footsteps were heard from the second floor. Some of the guys joked that it was just the house already falling apart, even from the wind, but each of them inside was actually already feeling fear. The bravest of them, Dima, took a flashlight and went to check the second floor to reassure his friends. He carefully climbed the creaky stairs until he came to the corridor. There he saw an open door, from which came a strange sound. It was a barely audible whisper. As he came closer, he saw figures flickering in the abandoned bedroom, as if scenes from the past life of the house were scrolling before him, running down the stairs. Pale and frightened, Dima could not utter a word. His friends, seeing his condition, decided that it was time to leave, but when they came to the door, it was tightly closed, and it could not be opened. The air in the house was getting colder by the minute, and the lanterns were getting dimmer. That night there were screams in the house that could be heard throughout the forest and even in the village. By morning, the door of the house was wide open, but the teenagers were never seen again. From then on, no one dared to go near the house after dusk. And sometimes, when the moonlight flooded the old walls, shadows would appear on the windows, as if the teenagers were still walking around the living room, forever trapped in the invisible world that lurked within the walls of the old house.